everybody, welcome back to my channel. In this episode of video I'm gonna share with you information about first baby food. I started giving him food around 4 months, but before I start giving him food I talk with my doctor, so I make sure that this is the right time for him. I recommend everybody to talk with their doctor before they start giving their baby food and get their recommendation. There are children that they have problems with their weight, so the doctor might recommend even foods that you find in markets that they help babies to gain the weight. In my case, my child did not have any problems with weight, so the food that I gave to him in their first months was practically only veggies and fruits. The first time that I gave food was one single fruit or one single veggies, and I introduced the food one single fruit in 3 days, and then I introduced another fruit or another veggies. The first food that I gave to him was vegetables, because the recommendation of the doctor was to give vegetables first to my son and then to start with the fruits, because there are children that they like the sweets, and when they start eating fruits then they later refuse to eat the veggies. So in this way I started with the sweet potatoes and the carrots, and later I started giving him peas and the string beans, and after that I started giving fruits like apples, avocados and bananas. The thing that I'm gonna share with you is that for bananas are a kind of fruits that might cause constipation. So in first 2 months I didn't give too much to my child, even though it's very sweet and the babies they like a lot and has lots of nutrition. But since it caused constipation, I gave it more often after 5 months old. The other thing about the avocado is he didn't like too much the taste of avocado, so when I start giving him I mixed with apples, and it comes a very nice taste, so he liked it. The other thing about preparation the food is that if your child does not like veggies or food that you are preparing for them, you can take some milk from your breast and mix with a puree to make it more delicious for the baby, or you can put some formula if you are feeding them with bottles. So in this way the child start eating the food. During this time you have to pay attention to your child if he has any allergies, they got rashes or they vomit the food. And the other thing is that you have to understand the behavior of the child toward the food. Don't push them to eat if they don't like it, so they might be full or they have their time, and you don't force them to eat a certain food. The other thing that I might mention is that beside of the fruits and the veggies, I use even you can use even peaches, which I didn't give to my son because in the time that I started feeding, the peaches were not in the season, and I couldn't find the nice organic peaches. So my recommendation is that you start giving food that is fresh, is organic, and you can easy find in your country. Start introducing those foods and make sure that they are taking fresh and very healthy food. The other thing is that in this period of time from 4 to 6 months, I feed him only one meal. So I start giving the food during the lunch time. So I had enough time to check my child about the behavior after I gave food, if he has any allergies or any problems. So I suggest you to feed your baby the first meal in the lunchtime, so you have enough time to check your child. And the other thing that I want to tell is that during this time the child still depends on your milk or your formula. So from 4 to 6 months, it's considered mostly a period of time that is an introduction to the baby with food. So that's pretty much the idea of preparing the food. I make the puree by boiling the fruits or steaming them. Then you depends what kind of machines or what kind of equipments you might use. You can prepare a nice puree for your baby. In this table, I show you some veggies and some fruits that I recommend as a first baby food. These fruits are actually what I have home. They are sweet potatoes, carrots, peas, green beans, avocados, apples, and bananas. The thing that I don't have in this table, but I can recommend as a baby first food, are the pears and the peaches and squash. The thing that I start with my son is the sweet potatoes and carrots. These are two of his first food. And then I started with the string beans and the peas. The thing that I can say is that some people, they don't give string beans because their skin is kind of thick, but if you steam and if you cook them, I recommend, and I think is safe for the babies. I have even to introduce to you this baby food that I bought from market. This is a puree that you can find, is a peach puree actually, that you find in market, and is just to show you the idea of the puree that they sell for baby food. The first food is very simple, so you just use potatoes or any of these veggies, and you can steam or you can boil them and make a very simple puree. Depends on what kind of equipments you gonna use for the baby to prepare their puree. I recommend you to make your own puree. Is less expensive, and it is a very nice, even for me as a mother, was very nice this time of period, even though I was busy. I enjoy it a lot. I by reading the nutritions, by searching and trying to do the best puree for my son. In this video, I'm gonna share with you how to make a puree. I'm gonna start with the apples and the sweet potatoes. I think apples is a kind of fruit that is easy to find in every country. I'm gonna prepare an apple puree. This kind of foods are considered safe, the list of the food that I mentioned before, because they don't cause gas, they have low acidity, and they don't cause allergies to the baby. So that's why they recommend to give to the babies for the first time. And the other veggies that I'm gonna cook is the sweet potatoes. Before I start cooking them, I peel the skin. So I recommend to peel the skins to the fruits and veggies, because in the skin you find more pesticides when the farmers store them, and the other thing is, as it is difficult to digest for the baby. I'm gonna show you two different methods, and one way that I cook is steaming, and I have a machine that it's a food processor for babies. And I'm gonna show even another way that is a traditional way of cooking, just boiling and using a simple equipments that I think everybody has in their own kitchen. The other thing is that I suggest you to soak in water the fruits and the veggies. Even though they are organic, they still have some pesticides that the farmers use during the growth of the plants and their veggies. So before you use them for cooking, I recommend to soak in the water. So now the apples are ready to boil. You chop them in pieces, so it makes easy for them to get soft quickly. You cover them with water in the slow heat, and you wait for them until they get soft, and then later you can blend, or you can use different equipments to make a puree. For the sweet potatoes, I'm gonna use this food processor for babies. It's a steamer. Actually, there are different kind of brands and different kind of version of the food processor for baby. This is expensive, but there are even cheaper one. I really recommend you to buy a food processor. It makes very easy the cooking, and it helps a lot because you as a mother, you gonna have lots of work to cook and to prepare food for your baby when he start eating three times a day, or maybe even 4 times a day. So now the steamer food processor is off. That means that the potatoes are ready. You can check them. If the potatoes are ready, you see that they are soft enough and they're gonna be easy to blend it. In the next thing here is the blender that allows me to blend it and to make mochi. That sweet potato is a very nice suggestion for the first food. It's very mushy and it has very sweets, and I think every child is gonna like it when you introduce. So now I put the food in the blender and I put some water. You always blend the food with water because it's not possible to come puree. Now the puree is ready. This food processor makes the things very easy to do, and it helps you to manage even the time for your food, and is very healthy because steaming food is considered a healthy way of cooking the food. Now the apples are ready. I boil them. They are soft. This way of steaming and boiling is another good thing because the veggies or the fruits, they might have even invisible bugs. So during the process of steaming and boiling, it helps to make sure that there is no bugs or any bacteria in the fruit. So I recommend you, even though it's a fruit that you can make it puree without boiling, I recommend to boil or to steam them, so it's gonna be safe for the baby. So I'm gonna show you a very traditional way of cooking the puree with this thing that they use for mashed potatoes. You can mash the apples and you can make a nice puree for the baby. So the puree is ready. The sweet potato puree and the apple puree are ready. These are the cups that is for storing the food. In the first 2 months, I didn't refrigerate the food. I always give him fresh food. The amount of food that is supposed to eat in 1 meal is 2 ounces, and then when they grow older, they eat more than 2 ounces. And you can serve them warm or in the room temperature, but not hot because them might hurt their mouth. The other thing that I'm gonna share about feeding the baby is that if there are leftovers from the puree, you should not use it because it's considered unsafe, since with a spoon it is in touch with a mouth and it might grow bacteria. So in this way, don't feed the baby if there are leftovers, but always give them fresh and new food every meal. And the other thing is that when you store food, you store food for 2-3 days, actually after they are 6 months. And I don't keep longer in the fridge because might not be safe. And when you freeze the food, that I have the container that I show in the previous video, I freeze the food for 1 month, and in internet you can find that there are people that they freeze for 3 months, but I didn't use, since I didn't need really to freeze so long, since I am cooking every day and I try to make fresh food. And not every food is I put in the freezer, like meat or fish. I don't refrigerate or I don't put in the freezer. I try to consume within the day, so it does not create the possibility to grow any bacteria in the food. Another important thing is that if you find interesting the information that I share through video, please subscribe my channel. In this way you give a good motivation to us to do new videos. And thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode.